Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're back with another Total War Warhammer video. Today's topic is the recent Greenskin rework and how it could have benefited other races. So without further ado, let's begin. The Warden and the Paunch DLC was released fairly recently, and with it came a rather large rework to the Greenskin faction that was desperately needed. This update not only made the Greenskins a more enjoyable experience for the player, but also gave a little boost to the AI factions to keep them alive a little longer during campaigns, and thus keeping Greenskin representation longer in game. Now, I have nothing to complain about the Greenskin rework. In truth, I think it's one of the best reworks so far, and I have multiple different campaigns running with different legendary lords that can attest to that. But the more I play through these campaigns, the more I notice additions of this rework that could have also benefited other races and factions. Some would have been desperately needed additions, while for others not so much. These wouldn't have demanded full faction reworks, but rather a small update to already existing factions. Firstly, a minor point here would be the Greenskin scrap mechanic for the Skaven. Now, while many people are sick of the Skaven updates, hear me out just one second. This mechanic makes perfect sense for the fun little ratmen. Let's look over the details for this mechanic. All Greenskins factions have access to a new resource called Scrap, reflecting their tendency to scavenge items from battles or settlements to inventively improve their gear. The three key points of this mechanic are scavenge scrap from battles or through occupation options, use scrap to unlock special technology nodes, and use scrap to upgrade units. Scavenging scrap from battles is very well established in the lore of the Skaven, where pretty much everything they have in terms of equipment is held together by warpstone and Skaven duct tape. Just FYI, there's no such thing as Skaven duct tape, but it just makes sense. Using scrap to unlock special technology nodes is the only thing that I would not include here, as the Skaven technology tree is probably one of the best at the moment. And going to the last point, use scrap to upgrade units, this makes sense once again for the Skaven, as after a battle the surviving Skaven will generally scavenge through all of the dead in an effort to find better gear for themselves. CA went further into detail regarding the unit upgrades, which go as follows. Each recruited Greenskin unit can access a new panel where they can benefit from one of several upgrade options. Upgrading a unit will cost a certain amount of scrap. Each unit in your army will be able to choose and keep an upgrade individually. Each unit will have several different upgrade options, improving units' existing strengths or adding new functionality. This sounds very Skaven-y, doesn't it? Well, in truth, in their last army book, they had a section dedicated to special items known as the scavenging pile. And as we've already established, the Skaven do scavenge the battlefield after a war, so a mechanic such as this would be perfect for their race. Now think of it this way, as you're building up stacks beyond stacks, especially when you play as the Skaven, where you'll have multiple armies running in different locations of the map, you can start tailoring your forces by upgrading them in certain ways. Just a few ideas here, maybe warpstone projectiles for your night runners, explosive attacks for your Jezails, you know, something to make them more different. You could have a few different options and be able to tailor your army in different ways. But we've talked about the Skaven enough. The main bulk of this video is actually dedicated to the Beastmen. While the Beastmen need a massive rework, there's no question about that, a bunch of stuff from the Greenskin rework could have translated very nicely towards the Beastmen too. Sure, it wouldn't have been a full rework, and they are in desperate need of a full rework, but at this point just about anything would help, especially to make the faction a bit more fun or a bit more viable in the campaign, whether as a played faction or as an AI faction. In regards to the Greenskins, this was highlighted in the Call to War. The old war mechanics where a Greenskins army would hit peak fightiness and spawn a second AI-controlled companion army are gone for good. A war is now a huge faction-wide event which mirrors those of Legend. A war is now something players can strategize and plan around, where expertise nets you bigger rewards the bigger the challenge. You now have full control over all aspects of the war. Now, before we go into all the specifics about this update, I want to add a bit of context here. The Greenskin armies and the Beastmen Brayhoods worked identical to each other, whereas with the more battles that you successfully won with your specific armies, they would build up a resource known as fightiness. Each fightiness bar was tied to each respective lord. When you maxed out this bar, you would spawn in a Brayhood for the Beastmen or a War for the Orcs. This was an AI-controlled army and its own separate faction, which in theory should have followed you around and helped you out in battles, but in most cases it was more of a hindrance than anything. Brayherds would take the Beastmen armies out of ambush stance, and in general they would just pick and fight with anything that was around them. And then of course there is the random bug where sometimes your AI controlled ally, which is supposed to be an extension of your own army and faction, declares war on you. This was a rather broken mechanic which annoyed many players who specifically avoided playing as the Beastmen or the Greenskins just because of it. Thankfully this was fixed for the Greenskins in the recent Greenskin rework, however this could have also greatly benefited the Beastmen too. So let's start looking at the various points and justifying why. Firstly, reputation. Greenskins now have a faction-wide resource called Reputation. Reputation is gained by fighting battles. Hard-fought defeats grant more reputation than easy victories. Reputation does not deteriorate and builds up to a maximum value of 100. From 0 to 100, the reputation meter will affect the faction. The more reputation you get, the more bonuses your faction gets. Once 100 reputation is reached, a call to war can be issued by the player. We'll go over the call to war section a little bit later, but let's go in depth about the reputation section. So reputation also would work in a similar way to the Beastmen. It is established in lore that as Bray herds fought more and more battles, they would gain a certain level of reputation, where the leader of the herd himself would attract more possible followers, some more stronger than others. This would cause the ranks of the specific Bray herd and its leader to swell dramatically. So the exact same mechanics can be used here. Reputation could be gained by winning more and more battles, and the more reputation you gain, the more likely you'd get more buffs. This would represent the fact that more stronger variants of your units are joining your army, and that you could possibly also be getting attention from the Chaos Gods. But now let's look towards the call to war mechanic. When the player hits 100 reputation, a call to war button becomes available. Clicking this allows you to target an enemy faction's capital city. You then choose between either following Gork or Mork, who grant you specific benefits for the duration of the call to war. When a call to war is called, all owned armies will get additional mobs attached to them that will be filled with units up to the number of units in the primary army in that point. War mobs will grow to their full potential over several turns as the boys get their mustering. Mobs are populated with appropriate units for the region, as well as specific units according to their faction leader. We're skipping over the war battle ability because I don't think a variant of that is needed for the Beastmen. But moving on, the call to war has a set duration. Success is achieved if the target capital is player occupied at the end of the call to war duration or raised during the call to war. Depending on the culture and strength of the selected enemy, a reward trophy will be granted if successful. So what would this do for the Beastmen? Well, first off, it would already carry on with the reputation mechanic, which would translate rather nicely to the Beastmen. Making you pick an enemy target would also give you incentive to start attacking an enemy rather than just randomly attacking enemies. Naturally, instead of being able to follow either Gork or Mork, you might be able to pick one of the 4 Chaos Gods to follow, where each of the different Chaos Gods could give you a different bonus. For example, Nurgle would probably provide a higher replenishment rate, Khorne would probably provide maybe more melee attack, Slaanesh could make your units a bit faster, and Tzeentch could probably provide maybe more winds of magic. This would also do away with the Bray herd mechanic, which as established does not work very well whatsoever. Being able to have 2 armies under one lord, effectively having up to a 40 stack if you have a full 20 stack to begin with, would make for an interesting large Bray herd mechanic with all your armies. Your armies getting rather known now, the other Beastmen are flocking to you, so it would make sense for you to be able to build massive armies whilst you go for your enemy target. The Bray herds being able to spawn units more specific to your faction leader would also work rather well. Malagor the Dark Omen could probably work around flying units such as Manticores and Harpies. Morgor the Shadowgave would probably get access to more Chaos Spawn, a few different variants of them, and maybe even Dragon Ogres, and Khazrak the One-Eye would most likely focus around Bestigors. The set duration from your armies also works very well, as that way you won't be able to have them forever, and it would give you incentive to start moving around and getting to your target. Naturally, you wouldn't be able to occupy your enemy faction capital, but being able to raise it works just as well. And lastly, having some sort of reward is the big incentive here, where you might get some sort of reward that will permanently boost your armies and make them much more viable in game. If these mechanics are then taken on, obviously the other sub-mechanics to this would also have to be taken on too. These armies would obviously not be permanent and would disperse after the given time is ended. The only thing I don't see translating rather well in regards to the Beastmen would be not being able to use your attached army in interceptions or ambushes, as the Beastmen do heavily rely on ambush attacks. Other than that, I believe everything else translates rather nicely, especially when you start taking into account trophy rewards where you would be actively looking to your enemy. The trophy system will also make you want to think heavily before declaring a call to the Beastmen or Call of the Beastmen, maybe that could be a name for it. Getting rid of the Brayherd system that's currently in game altogether would just be fantastic in my opinion. It's just a broken system, it doesn't work well at all, and it's frustrating to the majority of the player base. Sure, this doesn't fix the Beastmen problem altogether, but I believe that something like this would have been a massive step in the right direction. We'll eventually get a Beastmen rework, and it's very possible that we'll see some mechanics such as these being implemented there, but if it's already here, why can't we see it now? The perfect example of this would be when the Tomb Kings were announced, where their item building system was also translated towards the dwarfs. Yeah, nothing too major, such as this, it's just literally just changing some stuff around and making it fit for the Beastmen. It just feels like CA kinda missed the mark here, and to be honest, so did I, because I didn't notice this, or I don't think any other YouTubers noticed this either, considering how closely the Beastmen and the Greenskins actually played when it came to army mechanics, so here's hoping we'll see something regarding this soon. But what do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments regarding this, and let's start a bit of a discussion, shall we? Before we end this video, I just want to say you might be noticing that the art style is changing in terms of logo, outro art, and so on for the channel. That's because we've been working with this awesome graphic designer known as MaxOnMars. All his relevant links can be found in the description below. He's been working with the channel fairly recently, but his work ethic is amazing, and it's been given a breath of new life towards the channel. I'm really happy with the new art style, and I'm hoping that we can continue to work with him for as long as humanly possible. But with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like, or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. In the description section below, we have various different social media links such as Facebook, Instagram, and Discord, where you can get in contact with the Great Book team, talk to us about Total War, Warhammer, or just anything really. Also in the description section below is an affiliate link with Element Games, where you could get loads of hobby-based products, not just Warhammer, for 10 to 25% off. Purchasing using this link and also using our special code, which is also in the description, supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which we think is rather cool. A big thank you to our patrons, your support means the world to us. Honestly, it's amazing that people want to help a small channel like us grow and get to a higher level of content. A special thank you to our patrons Gibraltar LUSC and Ryan Bertsche for subscribing to us at our fame level. Honestly, you guys are super cool. And a big thank you to all of you for liking, sharing, and commenting on these videos. Honestly, the channel's been growing a lot lately, and it's all thanks to you guys. Without you, the Great Book would be nothing. We're trying to implement more videos into the channel soon, but we're getting stuff done outside of YouTube at the moment, just like artwork and so on for the channel. It's just taking a little while to get everything to look to a standard that we feel is cool. Honestly, guys, thank you so much for all the support lately. It's been amazing. But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching once again, and we shall see you all again very soon. Have a good day.